Welcome back to the final round of the Swiss portion of Eternal Weekend North America Legacy Championships 2023. We've gone all the way down to 10 players. We need to eliminate 2 more players to get our final standings after Swiss. Kai, I'm literally buzzing. I can't believe that we are nearing the conclusion of this one. Can we put on the standings here? Because I want to see who's already locked for top 8. We got 6 players pretty much locked. And we got 4 more players fighting here. We got TK Strachan on 4-color midrange. Mason Furnish on Boros Painter. They're going to face off in the feature match here. The winner is in. The loser still probably makes top 16. This is going to be something. 4-color midrange against Boros Painter. Dude, I'm just too excited for this. Let's see who's bringing us all of this. We got the casters, we got the streamers, and of course we got Card Titan running this entire event. There's 10% off of your order until the end of the month. Use code Eternal Weekend 2023. And we got GameGenic, same code, valid until the end of the week. And that's also going to give you 10% off. This is the final countdown, the final match of the Swiss. These players are fighting for glory, for at least the top 8 promo that you're gonna get, and maybe even a shot at the championship. Kai, I couldn't be more excited, dude. This
is like a highly interesting match. I think I can't even say like who's favored in this matchup. It's like Boros Painter, a combo midrange sort of deck versus 4-color midrange. Probably playing like up the beanstalks, things like that. A Force of Will, Brainstorms. It can be really swingy. Like those Pyroblasts in the Painter deck will definitely find its targets.
Yeah, and in my experience, it's gonna depend on what TK's 4-color deck is actually gonna look like. We got many different flavors of that. There was a time when Painter would go so late that you can naturally mill them out, especially during times when they didn't even have like endurances available. Like I'm looking at this deck list right now, there's literally no endurance in the main deck or sideboard. Strap yourself in, boys, because usually this stuff goes really late. We already saw the very first Painter. That one hits the graveyard. And Mason is slowly building up to a potential quick kill on the backs of Goblin Engineer and Grindstone. Everything he still needs at this point is a red source. You know, you can do the trick where next turn you get Grindstone, you activate it, and using your red source, you exchange it for the Painter and get a very quick kill. Of course, TK is probably going to have to say something about that, right? You don't come to a tournament playing a control deck to just get comboed on turn 3 by a creature combo. So I don't think that he will just go down like this.
Yeah.
By the way, loving the crown. Absolutely loving the crown there.
I mean, yeah, TK just became the monarch even before the tournament, I
think. Like, dude, I'm gonna draw the extra card. It says so here, right? That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
You know what would be amazing? If some of them actually became the monarch and then they exchanged the hat and the crown. This is great.
We have a single dress down in TK's deck to take care of those Ursa Saga constructs. Besides that, there's also a single copy of Terminus as the only sweeper in this entire deck. You see a lot of spot removal and the full set of Leyline Binding and Swords of Plowshares. Orcish Bowmasters can also ping small things here and there. And then there's also more miracle action because the deck also features 3 copies of Triumph of St. Catherine, a card from the Warhammer set, which is not available on Magic Online, but here in paper, definitely. And people might also not have the reps necessarily to play against Triumph of St. Catherine because it's a pretty strong lifelinker creature. It has decent stats, 5/5. Can win by itself against Elva.
So, in my experience, it's all going to come down to Murktide Regions because most of the stuff that TK is going to be able to throw at Mason, he can easily deal with, rather easily. There's some kind of like crazy card advantage lines there. For example, like if you ramp up a lot of up the beanstalks early on and then you just run away with the game, then you could play a natural control game and try to win the game that way. But at that time also, like, Grindstone becomes a problem. There's no way to reshuffle your graveyard, and you might actually literally run out of cards before you can like put in random Bowmaster speeds. Because Murktide Regent, not the most reliable card on the matchup, going up against a deck that in this case has 5 blast effects, 3 Swords to Plowshares, It feels like this is very much the way to go for Painter. We got another mono-red Painter up there fighting for potentially top 16, I believe. I think Painter is actually going crazy. We got 4 copies in the top 10 as we go into the final round. I already told you, right? We're about to face a lot more Painter hate in the future, and I'm not too excited for that.
Everyone, sleeve up your blue blasts, I'm telling you. I beg you. Your blue blast and your meltdowns. You gotta be ready for this.
Don't listen to this guy. Don't hate on Doomsday, everybody. Please going forward. I think that's a Portal 3 Kingdoms basic land, by the way. Loving that one.
Oh yeah, good spot. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And those construct, they just keep coming.
Yeah.
What's the Saga number 2?
Witcher Saga, the bane of control decks all around the world ever since it was printed. It's so annoying to deal with. Usually you either like trade down or like even miss out on card advantage and all that kind of stuff. TK has literally only played like 2 cantrips and cycled Alorian Revealed in this game. I say it's about time we affect the board, and there's a good chance that's what he's about to do now. Do you think he's gonna like try to get a leyline binding down or do anything? Maybe set up a potential term. Like, Terminus is the one thing you'd love to do here, but there's already the second Urza Saga waiting. And with only access to, I think, a single Terminus in the entire deck, this is such an uphill battle for TK here. But, I mean, he made it all the way to 9-1, so if somebody can do it, it's all these players here up at the top tables.
Yeah. So how TK's deck is constructed is that it has the engine up the beanstalk, and a lot of cards for low mana that have a converted mana cost of 5 or greater, such as Force of Will, Triumph of St. Catherine, Leyland Binding, Murktide Region. Like, all these cards cost 5 or more, but they really don't cost 5 mana. So you kind of add a cantrip effect to all these cards basically for free after dropping that up the beanstalk. Any Leyline Binding or Terminus before up the beanstalk is still like a decent removal spell, decent cards, but it just gets to a whole other level once up the beanstalk is in play.
Okay, we're gonna probably make a chump blocker here. TK knows he's in trouble. Like, if you're the Painter player, right, you love this play. You feel like, okay, this is kind of like a desperation player. I need to conserve my life total, while really only like throwing away the card. It's your favorite card, Kai. This was Fog. This was like a 2-mana Fog.
Thank you. Yeah, I love
For those
Fogs.
who don't know, Kai used to imprint Fog on Isochron Scepter and lose friends left and right. That's why he had to move to Japan at some point.
Okay.
Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I wanna call Fable of the Mirror Breaker the best card in deck, the glue that keeps the deck together. Probably the most Force of Will card next to Lethal Painters or Grindstones.
Mason is running hot today. Like, this Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but also having enough mana for this Urza Saga. Like, it's not gonna be an easy one for TK, that's for sure.
Yeah. The entire match thus far has been very much a struggle, and I mean, I keep going back to Urza Saga. It's probably my favorite card printed in at least the last 10 years. It's one of those rare cards where you actually print something that's mostly applicable in what people like to call like non-blue decks. I don't really care too much about the color requirements, but there's like a certain controlish sit-back playstyle, right? And Urza Saga, you would think goes into that, but it actually goes into a lot of these aggressive and mid-range decks, and I just love how that turned out to be.
All right, okay, so here's step number 1 for TK to start his engine. It's up the beanstalk. Now, almost a quarter of his deck trigger this card. And best, obviously, is a Terminus.
Or a Dress Down, I guess. Dress Down would be insane here.
There's Dress Down is also really nice.
In the deck as well, right?
Yeah, both of those. What's nice about Terminus, though, is that this TK runs a single Mystic Sanctuary in his deck. So he can put Terminus on top at a later point of the game to basically reset the board again. He can't really do that with Dress Down, unfortunately.
So one way for TK to win this game would be like, let's say, Dress Down into a Murktide, because we see Mason already put himself to 9 by repeated use of Ancient Tomb.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
And you know, one of the problems that we face in these mid-range matchups is if they have access to 4th Erlangers, which TK, I think, does not.
Yeah.
You put yourself at such a low life total, you literally get fireballed out by 4th Erlangers. TK decided, nope, 4 colors are good enough for me. I'm not going to play that 4th Erlangers card. Instead, opting to go for Triumph of St. Catherine, but didn't really work out in this match. We're going to go to a second game. as we talked about, right? The first game, very, very much in favor of Painter, I would say. After sideboarding, oh god, dude. Now look at this blast from the past. Are you looking at the sideboard of TK right now, Kai? Is there a card that sticks out to you?
Yeah. There's a specific card in TK's sideboard, which we're gonna talk in a bit here. But I think this whole deck idea also came from Brian Koval, if I'm not mistaken, from the Eternal Weekend in Europe, Prague. He played a really similar deck to this, and yeah, it's 4-color Beanstalk with no crazy fourth Erlingers nonsense. He doesn't even need this.
Yeah, but there's 2 copies of Pernicious Deed in the sideboard, right?
Oh,
and that one's gonna mess you up big time. Very, very big time. Pernicious Deed, the bane of pain that even takes out your lands at times. It's such an annoying card. It's basically kind of like the black-green version of Meltdown. As this deck doesn't have access to red, they need something else to reset the board. Once again, Painter, probably one of the most grindy decks in the format. Able to both play a very quick game, but also a very long game. And Pernicious Deed is the reset button that you need. You can't really beat a deck like Painter with a control deck without any kind of like Meltdown or Pernicious Deed effects. And TK got 2 copies of those, which will most likely prominently feature in this match, I would guess.
This is absolutely brutal. It also kills Ursa Saga or any artifact land too, I think. Oh man.
Oh, great start from Mason. Running out the grindstone early on, it's not the best thing you can do in the first turn, but following it up with the Thorn of Amethyst, that's quite the annoying card. And TK is deciding, okay, you know what? This one is just like messing me up, messing the opponent up quite a bit. So yeah, let's get rid of the Thorn.
Yeah, Forceful Attach Cantrip. Not too bad. Not too bad.
You know what I wonder? Whenever you get these matchups and you do get an early grindstone and maybe you don't have like any kind of reasonable plays, you sometimes randomly just mill the opponent. You run the risk of them getting something great back with Mystic Sanctuary, but it's like I've been there. Before we did that whole 4th Erlingast thing, I want to say every 3rd game I played against 4-color midrange decks with grindstone that I won, I actually won with natural grindstones. So we will see. We'll see how that one goes.
Very nice. Cool.
TK is setting up for his turn with the brainstorm here. Let's see how that one goes.
Yeah, you gotta pay a little bit of respect to grindstone sometimes. Like people always assume that you can only activate it once Painter's in play, but like sometimes it has sick applications.
You also sometimes activate it on yourself, especially early on when you don't have access to Phyrexian Dragon Engine yet. That's very much a play that you make. You also you make it so that you get access to more stuff once you find Welder or even Goblin Engineer. So a grindstone rarely goes unused if you have the mana.
Yeah, very smart. All right, check this out. How about some miracle action here? Triumph of St. Catherine, fresh from the top.
Another card not available in Magic Online yet, so you gotta tune in to see this one in action. It's gonna make is it a 5/5 lifelinking token, and then has that extra ability that it never really dies, right? Whenever it leaves the battlefield or goes to the graveyard, you put it back on the top of your library after exiling top 5.
The top 6 cards, yeah, like
top 6 even.
It keeps coming back, and the best part about this is that every time it comes back, it also triggers up the Beanstalk. What a nice card!
Oh god,
what a nice card!
Repeated miracles all around. Another Warhammer 40k card. I don't know the lore behind this. I think we both kind of play Warhammer at some point, but I'm not that deep into it. Somebody in chat is gonna enlighten us about that. And Mason, yeah, just sits back, try to make that lifeblood of the deck that is Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That one got taken out as well. And here we got another Thorn of Amethyst. It's not the aggressive play that you want to make in a situation like this, or at least put up some kind of defense. I wouldn't even mind just letting this resolve if I was TK, right? At this point, you got your offense established, you got a card advantage engine, you got quite a lot of mana. I think the one thing you might fear is Magus of the Moon. And let's check for that. Mason got access to 2 copies of those.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Like TK's mana base is wildly stretched, right? It has so many different dual lands in it. There is basic plains and basic island, and we might also see like a Hydroblast or 2. So it's not completely lights out, but the mana base again, like that's the downside of running a card like Leyline Binding. You have to play so many different colors in your deck to make the card work.
The There's also 2 copies of Blood Moon, so he very much split those 2 up, vulnerable to different things. But with TK having access to Basic Island, as you mentioned, the Hydroblast, that's the one card that can cause problems. You want to fight back with your own blast and then maybe actually take the game that way. We'll see whether that's how it's going to play out. As Mason drops even further. Ooh, and threatening the kill here. Assembling the combo into 4 mana available for TK. And of course, he probably doesn't expect this one to work out, but he certainly has to at least try and go for it. And, TK gets up and is asking a question to chat. I'm curious, what's the most interesting interaction you can have here? Mason probably most likely going to activate on TK's upkeep, I would guess. Is there anything that comes to mind? Like, if you're Mason, which kind of card do you read from this judge call?
Maybe some combination of like can you play, like, what if you play a removal spell on Painter while the activation is on stack? Maybe something like that. It's kind of basic, but maybe
Restdown
TK
probably,
has,
honestly.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Restdown comes to mind, right? And it looks like he actually has Restdown in hand. Restdown is interesting because if Painter's on the stack and you played Restdown, you never get to name a color for the Painter. So even once Restdown goes away, the Painter once again turns everything into the named color. But since you didn't get to name a color in the first place, it's literally just a 2-mana 1/3. What's a vanilla 2-mana 1/3? Oh, and we are fighting over this with Blast, but now we don't have enough mana because of our Thorn of Amethyst. We are cutting ourselves off. We cannot activate the Grindstone, and we will have to pass the turn. So the Thorn actually working against Mason there.
Imagine having like a Spirit Guide here, but man, what a close turn. I think TK just barely survived this turn here. Right, yep. Smashing in for 5 points, and I think he can't snap that Swords to Plowshares like fast enough.
Oh, yeah.
To get a little bit of breathing room.
Then again, without the Thorn of Amethyst, TK would have had access to the Swords to Plowshares, assuming he already had that one. So in the end, it doesn't really bite Mason because it would have played out this way either way. But tight, very, very tight games, right? This is the stress that Painter can put you under. And it looks like TK might just take that second game unless Mason can come up with, let's say, a second Painter.
Wow, yeah, Triumph of St. Catherine. Holy smokes, I'm so excited about this card. Like, this card is so, I don't know. It's like if you're basically too lazy for something like Uro, you better play Triumph of St. Catherine. It's kind of the same thing. It has lifelink. It also draws you a bunch of cards. It draws you 1 card because of the Beanstalk. Man, like, the Miracle mechanic is such a cool thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you're very consciously like limiting your tools by like not having access to red, which is a big thing in Legacy. On the upside, of course, you get somewhat better mana base, and with most 4-color decks eschewing like black, but TK actually playing that one, you get access to this like completely destructive cards like Pernicious Deed. I still wonder whether we're gonna see that one in the 3rd game. It's just I live in fear of Pernicious Deed. It's even something you can randomly get down on the board that's gonna get you out from like a Blood Moon or a Magus of the Moon. It's an amazing card in the matchup. And knowing how famous, how popular Painter has been lately, I very much would think that TK put that one in there, expecting to be paired against stuff like even like Painter, 8-cast. There are tons of applications across the board for this card, and I wonder.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
An important role.
Like earlier when we talked about Meltdown, like Meltdown already seemed like a disaster for Painter, but Pernicious Deed also takes down all the goblins. you better be prepared for this one.
Yeah, it's the ultimate reset. Like the best thing you can do after you've been Pernicious Deeded is to try to get back in the game with 4th Erlingas. The problem is Deed usually gets activated, let's say during your attack step, maybe your end step, rarely on the opponent's main phase, so you're never really untapping into 4th Erlingas after Deed has been blocked. You usually end up doing like something much slower. So looking at the opening hands here, we got Goblin Engineer, a Blast, a healthy amount of mana. Honestly, nothing that actually thrills me in the matchup, because if you're playing Painter, you really want to take advantage of your potential of Ancient Tomb early on, right? Maybe play a turn 1, turn 2 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Take advantage of the 4-color mid-range decks early. Slowness, inability to interact. Maybe they're trying to like piece together the mana base. that's where you force them into early Force of Wills, which is great for you if you have the Pyroblast, or even if you just want to run them out of relevant cards. So in games where you go turn 2, Goblin Engineer pass, I really feel uncomfortable. It's the kind of hand you still very often keep, just because it has that Engineer, it has access to Phyrexian Dragon Engine, it has a Red Blast, it's got decent mana. So I don't think Mason feels too great about this keep, but I might have also kept that one. It's one of those, like, we call those like 6 out of 10 hands, right? If you're sitting there playing for top 8, do you keep the 6 out of 10 hand, or do you risk mulliganing into something that's going to take you down to 5? It's one of those hard decisions that
it's like sometimes
it's
like a slow line between like borderline line keepable hand, right? Like sometimes it's better to take a mulligan. I gotta say, like ever since the mulligan rule has changed, like decent 6s are mostly better than like lukewarm 7s, but
on the other side of the board, TK is struggling. I think he's mulliganing down to 5, at least indicated by the dice that wasn't screened there for a moment. So this one is certainly a keep, no matter how low you go. And he decided to keep a Ponder, a bunch of mana. And then I would even think, like, if we do put back the Brainstorm, then the idea might be to try and recover by hardcasting Lorien at some point.
Ooh,
that's a tough decision, right? Do you keep the Lorien to try, or do you keep the Brainstorm? There's also a Hydroblast, which is definitely going to be clutch in this matchup.
Yeah, that's a really interesting decision. I think hardcasting the Lorien reveal, it might take a little bit of setup. And I don't even know if you get to that point. Ooh. Okay, but having early interaction against Painter is definitely where you want to be, I think.
Oh, and now look at this. This line's, like, despite going down to 5, this lines up really well against what Mason is doing here, right? Mason not really doing all that much. But I was going to say, about to play. Oh, still playing that Goblin Engineer off the Tomb then. Okay. That might be the only other land that we had there. And putting the Dragon Engine to the graveyard. This is Mason's game plan right now, right? We traded that Red Blast for the Ponder early on. Makes especially sense considering the TK mulligan down to 5, so you think you might mana screw him here. But TK's got that's not Soul Guide Lantern. Help me out.
Nihil Spellbomb is, yeah.
Nihil Spellbomb, there we go.
There, alright.
And that one's great. That one's not only gonna make it so that Mason can never go for the graveyard with this one still around, it's also gonna allow TK to draw a card should Mason ever try to put something together here. Oh, that's an interesting spot, by the way. TK kind of wants to draw an extra card, but then again, he would potentially make Mason activate the Goblin Engineer. So the downside for Mason, if he does so, is he has to discard his entire hand. And I think that's what TK is trying to figure out right now. Is Mason going to be willing to discard his hand to get that Dragon Engine? I think the answer is very much yes, considering, unless he has picked up like some great cards in the last 2 turns, right? His opening wasn't that great. And no, TK patient. TK just like sitting back, cycling Lorien Revealed, getting another land, and keeping access to the Spellbomb.
Yeah, really nice. Sitting on the Spellbomb activation plus the black mana, but also the Hydroblast. Hasn't used it just yet. There are so many excellent targets for Blue Blast.
Interesting. Mason very aggressive blasts here, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Because a very common theme is when you're sitting on potentially access to a Dragon Engine, what you want to do is you want to empty your hand really quickly and then leverage the card advantage that you're going out of that. One thing that Mason could do here, and I think that's what he might actually be building up to, is you can try to get the Unearth on the Dragon Engine. You pay 5.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening here, potentially. We don't have... No. I was going to say, we don't have Metalcraft yet, otherwise we could have tried to do that. But here we just trade the Blood Moon for the Hydroblast. So yeah, the story of this game right now is Mason wants to get to 5 mana and a red, so he can activate the Unearth, which is probably gonna incentivize TK to use the Spellbomb, but then in return, he can activate the Goblin Engine to get the Dragon Engine. But here comes the card we talked about, right, Kai? Pernicious Steed, threatening to reset the entire board.
Yeah, welcome to Boomer Legacy, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the oldest cards in the format. Pernicious Deed, 3 mana, and that's an activate ability for X and sacrifice Pernicious Deed. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with converted mana cost X or less. So what's so cool about this card is this card came out before Planeswalkers So it doesn't touch any of those. It also blows up lands if they happen to be enchantments or artifacts. Man, I'm so excited about Pernicious Deed on camera. Holy smokes.
Yeah, you look at the board set on the left side. This could have been Legacy out of 2011 when we had Mental Misstep, when we had Bug Still. This is the kind of board they would present at times. I guess no Tundra there. So interestingly for Mason, if TK actually decides to blow the Pernicious Deed, then the Spellbomb might also go away, and then you could bring in the... I mean, there's just like so many levels. I mean, we're not going to try to pretend to get into all of those, but there are very many levels to display, and I think Mason is also asking about something about the Unearth ability there. Because one interesting thing about Unearth is that a lot of players miss. If you Unearth, it doesn't go... Like, the card doesn't go to the stack or to the battlefield. It stays in the graveyard for a moment still. So one of the biggest blowouts that can happen, for example, is you activate 5 to Unearth, and then you get Search Echoed on the Dragon Engine, and it's so annoying.
Ooh, that's
and a lot of
nasty.
people miss that in paper, because paper players, paper players, Triple P, they tend to put the Dragon Engine on the battlefield as they Unearth, but it actually stays in the graveyard, and that might allow TK to blow that Spellbomb. But we will see, we will see. Many different avenues of play available, and I'm excited to see which one Mason's gonna go for here. So much mana. Yeah, and I think we're going to go for the play we talked about earlier. We're going to activate the Unearth. Mason puts into seed. This is what I'm saying. This is what happens in paper a lot. It actually is still in the graveyard. But yeah, you basically put it there for the opponent to read, so they know what's up. But TK still able to blow that Spellbomb if he wants to. But no. We discard our hand, draw 3 new cards, and now the Dragon Engine can attack for 4. And interestingly, you can still sack it to get something out of the graveyard with the Engineer, but even if you sack it, it still goes to exile. It's got that clause where, like, if you, no matter what happens, no matter where it's supposed to go, if you bounce it, if you do anything, it goes to exile. You cannot do anything.
I see. Okay, you can't go absolute crazy with it. All right.
No, that will be even more broken than it already is.
Oh man, like I like the patience on TK side, just like letting the Pernicious Deed, just let it sit, let Mason, you know, drop some more stuff on the table. It must be so
here.
Yeah, it's like so challenging to play against an active Pernicious Deed, because at some point, like, you have to overcommit a little bit to maybe trigger the deed.
Yeah. The extra problem is the Spellbomb, right? A lot of times when Painter does that, you kind of overcommit, but then in response to the deed being blown, you have some graveyard shenanigans that make up for it, and you come out damaged but not totally destroyed. But with the Spellbomb there as well, it's going to be quite annoying for Mason to set it up in a way that you can force TK to blow the deed without being destroyed yourself. Because the one thing you don't want to do is to just like point a blast at the deed, because that's just like throwing one more card into everything that you're already going to lose to it anyway.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like an aggressive approach, I think.
TK at 12 life. So one card I want to draw, and this is why, like, I've been pushing for adding 4th Erlingas to the deck for like a couple of months now, and that one is 4th Erlingas. In the past, we used to play like other mid-range options for situations like this. Maybe not necessarily against Steed, but like slow games. There were like Breyer's Apprentice and stuff. If you can just like slam out 4th Erlingas here, and once again, not against Steed. That's the one metagame adaptation that TK made that's so good, and that's like the next level of plays that we might face more in the future going forward. You could just like sometimes steal games if your opponent was sitting on a meltdown or something.
Good point. Yeah. Okay, so the Painter Servant, okay, got the color chip here. It's naming blue, and I don't even think that you want to name any other color in this matchup specifically. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that the blue makes the most sense. That's what you want to do there. By the way, can I point out something? I think we're on turn 6 or 7. You know how many spells TK has actually resolved until now? We're about to enter turn 7 or something, and TK has resolved 3 spells. Pernicious Deed, Spellbomb, and I'm not even sure if he resolved... No, actually, he might have only resolved 2 of his spells. Like 2 Cycle Lorien Reveals, 2 Countered Ponders. Like, you can make it all the way to turn 7 without like resolving all that many spells here. I love that.
Oh wow, there's another sweeper. Alright, Terminus taking care of the Goblin and the Painter Servant. Now this has to be strong, right? Like you have a Pernicious Deed which you haven't even used yet against Painter, and the only thing you see on the battlefield is a little cute Mox Opal. It's offline.
So I would guess Mason did not bring in the one of Pithing Needle that you see in a lot of Painter decks. He's got access to that, but he might not actually have that one available. So from here, am I correct that he's not holding any cards in hand, or are they flat? Oh, they're flat down on the table. Never mind. For a second, I was like, oh, dude, this is gonna be a tough one. But with access to this many cards, a Red Blast in there, yeah, you know, if Mason gets too frustrated by the deed, he might actually try to just blast it. So basically 2-4 on yourself, but of course that's devastating if TK actually finds a removal spell for the Painter and respawns. But honestly, like TK also doesn't have too much going on there, right? Is he sitting on 2 potential hardcast Force of Worlds in another land?
Yeah, this is hard control. Like
all the way down to 7.
Yeah, a big sweeper in play, Force of Will in hand. Basically, he's waiting for like a Triumph of some Catherine, for example, to show up, or a Murktide Regent. A Lorien revealed to be hardcasted. Not crazy. We'll take those.
Orcish Bowmasters, I guess. Orcish Bowmasters actually can take out a Painter on the attack, right? You deal 1 damage to it, and you throw the Bowmaster and the token at it. That would be something like... I'm talking about stabilizing here, when there's like a 1-3 attacking every single turn, but I mean, at 6 life, we're slowly getting to the point where TK has to be worried.
This is so intense. Like, at what point do you crack this Pernicious Deed just to take care of this Painter Servant?
I think you're willing to go down to 1 life. Maybe 2, because you want to have access to like fetch lands and like potential pitched forests and everything. I think you might blow the deed at 2, but if you're TK, you hope that you find... Like, your deck is full of stuff that matters here. You got a ton of cards, and you got a ton of redraws. I think the only misses here might be something like up the Beanstalk, and oh, bam! Bam! This will surely force out the hardcast Force of Will. 4th Erlingas, the most recent addition to Painter, in my opinion, one of the best things to ever happen to the deck in like the last couple of years. And if I had to guess, is TK gonna throw a Force at this, or is he gonna be willing to blow the deed?
I think you have to blow the deed here, right? Like, Mason doesn't become the Monarch immediately. He has to successfully attack TK. And man, like that Force of Will is also somewhat valuable to maybe counter something like a Fable of the Mirror Breaker later. You got so many options though.
And looks like it's gotta be the deed. Yeah. Take out the Mox as well, reset the board. Finally, we got rid of the... That's the kind of play you want to make, right? You want to force your opponent to blow the deed, and then follow it up with something post-combat. So, you know, you can still threaten at least some kind of value play next turn. Also, TK not able to hardcast the Force of Will there on the Goblin Welder. And if Mason has an artifact here, he can slowly start to rebuild. He doesn't have access to the Dragon Engine anymore, unfortunately for him. Oh, why not make it a second deed?
Not as beautiful as the first one. But we still take it. Okay, we have had so much mass removal in this game already. If TK could only find one of his threats, especially... Oh, there she is! Triumph of St. Catherine.
St. Catherine hitting the board. 5/5 lifelink. That one's surely gonna stabilize.
Yeah.
And now Mason needs to find some kind of great interaction. Dude, playing against Deed is so annoying. This is such a great addition to the deck by TK. I'm not even sure what I want to find at this point. We got a great Furnace, Old Frame promo down there. That one's also going to get taken out by Deed potentially. And we got Mason trying for another Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I was wondering whether he wanted to hold that second Ancient Tomb for exactly this kind of situation. But I could actually imagine that this might trigger the Deed. The looting ability on the Fable, insanely powerful, allows you to get rid of useless cards in a deck that has like a very high density of cards that have heavy impact, especially the 2nd, 4th Erlingas. Like if you can force TK to blow that second Deed and then eventually find that 2nd, 4th Erlingas and like have the Red Blast to go with it, that would be amazing.
All right, and there goes the second Deed. All right, so we are done deeding. That was the last Deed.
That was the second Pernicious Deed of TK, taking out what I guess is gonna be the entire board except for the Triumph. Let's see how that one goes. Activating Goblin Welder and respawns, it looks like. Oh no. What are we we're blasting the Triumph, I guess.
Nice. All right. Okay. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. We have a force to protect. Oh, and there's another blast. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
This is a complete reset on the board here. For everyone. I think that the guy's just making sure what the Triumph of Saccharin doesn't actually die. It basically what you do is you take it and the top 6 cards of your library and you shuffle them and put them on top of your library, right?
You know what would be cute? If Mason could find a grindstone and then like go really hard on the grindstone on TK and try to mill that Triumph of St. Catherine. Oh, here we go.
There she is.
TK's like, easy. I'll just do it again. Sure, let's try that. And there even was the grindstone. Dude, had TK not found it, there was a real chance we would have milled that one out. Instead, we go to the face, and Mason is dead next turn. He needs to find something. You gotta come up with a removal spell. You gotta come up with like a potential blocker. TK finds nothing on the ponder, just more lands. Easy shuffle for him. As Mason is like dying to draw the top card of his deck and find out what his fate is gonna be. Because if he loses this match, there's no top 8 for him, whereas TK is surely gonna be in. It all comes down to maybe the very next turn. But we just delay with another ponder. Okay, cool. We draw the cards. What is it going to be for Mason? No!
Oh, and TK takes it. He takes it, advances to 10-1, and locks his spot in the top 8 for this Eternal Weekend event. That's awesome. With a 4-color Beanstalk deck. This was such a swingy game. Congratulations, TK. This was like one of the most intense games we've watched this whole weekend. And I'm so happy that we had that on camera for the very last round of the Swiss. Oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah, you know my heart beats for Painter, but I also can really, really appreciate adaptations to the meta game. And Benish's skis, Chef's Kiss, awesome call. And you can see definitely, at least in this game, it puts TK up into top 8 of Eternal Weekend, North America. For us, this is gonna be the end. Kai and I are gonna step out of the booth. We're gonna have a look at the top 8 bracket before we leave, though. So let's see who made it in. We got Kai. I'm gonna take the top 4. He's got TK's Straw on Beanstalk Control, just on camera. He's gonna go up against Nick Ferrero on 4-color aggro. That's actually quite the innovation. We haven't really seen 4-color aggro decks in Legacy in, I wanna say, ever since the days of Deathrite Shaman, if I may say. So that's going to be probably like a big slugfest, and indeed maybe even coming in clutch there. Second quarterfinal, we got Legacy's Brian Cook going up against Cass Lynn, I think, who's been dominating the field for quite a while. Saw Cass up there all the time. On Cradle Control, new adaptation of Elves that has been around for 1-2 years, going up against the Epic Storm. So what do we see on the second bracket?
All right, so we have Sean Sabia on Boros Painter against Jack Kitchen on Boros Painter. So this is the exact mirror match. We will see. This is going to be an exciting one as well. And Wyatt Gibson on Cephalid Breakfast versus Jai Wojciechowski on Grixis Delver. So we have a lot of highly interesting magic here. I think I'm a little surprised to see like the Boros Painter mirror already in the quarterfinals, but man,
it's going to be interesting, though, because Jack Kitchen, very much one of the champions of Painter. He's been putting the deck forward for many years. And he's playing what's called Strawberry Shortcake. So while it's called Boros Painter, it's quite different of what Sean is playing. It actually has access to Enlightened Tutor. So it's going to have a lot more of a combo focus. And we will see how that one plays out. I can't even tell you who's favored there. But I just love the diversity of this top 8, right? We talk about Legacy and just seeing all of these different decks, even in the mirror match, we got 2 different approaches to it. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch all of this. We are gonna go into the vintage top 8 before we start the Legacy bracket. So stay tuned for that. From Kai and me, that's gonna be it for now. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Before the top 8 starts, let all of your friends know. Post on X, post on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. You call your friends, send them a fax, let them know about all of this. And if you enjoyed our coverage, check out our podcast, Everyday Eternal. We are two thirds of that podcast. We love Legacy. We tell you sometimes even like interesting facts or where you can buy the best fish in Tokyo. And Kai, are you gonna pick somebody? Do you think like Legacy's Brian Cook is gonna go all the way?
I'm rooting for the combo deck. So yeah, Brian, you better take this down.
I'm gonna be excited for all of that. So everybody, stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes for the vintage top 8.